Okay, I'd like to call the East Bay Clean Energy meeting, Board of Directors meeting to order for November 1st. First item would be the roll call.
Alameda County.
Here.
Albany.
Here.
Berkeley. Dublin.
Here.
Emeryville.
Here.
Fremont.
Here.
Hayward.
Here.
Livermore.
Here.
Oakland. Oakland is expected late. Piedmont.
Present.
San Leandro.
Present.
Union City. Community Advisory Committee.
Present.
Thank you.
I'm assuming that means we have a quorum. With that, I would like Ann Olivia, if you would please lead us in the pledge. No? I'm never sure anymore. I guess not. Okay. Pick somebody. Al, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Public comment, a time in which you can speak to anything that is not on today's agenda. I have no speaker cards at this point. Please, for the record, note that Director Kolb has joined us. Anybody wish to speak under public comment? All right, hearing and seeing none, I'm looking for an approval of the minutes from October 18th. It's an action item there, everybody.
I would move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mendel, seconded by Biddle. Is there any objection to the motion? Wow, we're going to get it right on the first one, okay? So the motion passes with the roll call, unanimously with the roll call that is here. Item 5, the CEO report.
The only item I'd like to report is just to introduce Howard Chang, who is our newly hired Chief Operating Officer. Today was his first day, and he will be joining me up here on the dais going forward. And one other related item, the Livermore National Lab has asked us to provide a letter of support to a grant that they're submitting to the California Energy Commission, and it's for a microgrid project that they want to build. And so it was, unless there was a concern or an issue, it was my intent to submit the letter of support to that project. That's all I have.
Okay. First off, Mr. Chang, is there anything you'd like to add to that very lengthy report about your acceptance to the position?
I'll simply say I'm very excited to be part of the organization. A lot of work to do here, a lot of good work to do within the county. So thanks for having me join.
Thank you. Well, welcome. And then on the letter of support from the lab, of course, we want to support the lab on their microgrid. Is there a little bit more information on that, or?
Yeah, the project that they're submitting is for a solar storage and fuel cell microgrid that they want to build to support Alameda County. I think it's their emergency response center. So it would support not just the lab, but it also support Alameda County's emergency response capabilities. And they are looking to submit their application in the coming weeks. They would like a letter of support, and then at some future point, maybe seeking us a partnership with East Bay Community Energy. At that point, we would come back to the board with a more fully fleshed out proposal for what participation would look like.
Anybody else have any questions on that? I'm not sensing any heartburn on that, so I'm assuming you'll be moving forward on that. Okay. Anything else on your report there, Nick?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, we'll move to item 6.
Item 6 is a recommendation to authorize me, the Chief Executive Officer, to execute a letter of intent and a final contract with the Sacramento Municipal Utility District for data management, billing, and call center services for a term of 2 years that may include options for extensions that EBCE has sole discretion to exercise. Additionally, the Chief Executive Officer will work with SMUD to develop a set of task orders above the base cost in SMUD's bid to support the setup of an in-house call center in 2 phases. Phase 1 will be set up of a customer service center focused on escalated calls and other customer service and outreach tasks. Phase 2 will be the setup of a full-service call center to handle all frontline calls. The target rollout for Phase 1 is 1 year from launch. The target phase rollout for Phase 2 would be in 2 years. In 2 years, we would have a fully in-house East Bay Community Energy call center staffed by East Bay Community Energy employees. And so I ask for your support on this item. We've covered this item quite extensively over the last weeks and months. And I guess at that, I'd really just sort of, leave it to questions from the board, public comment, and, I ask for your support.
Thank you. First, I'll see if Director Pilch or if Anna Olivia would like to say anything.
I don't think I have much to add. We did an evaluation of SMUD that was very similar. We tried to keep all parameters the same as the evaluations we did for Calpine and GridX, and I was impressed with SMUD. As was mentioned in the report, the scores were higher for SMUD, and I support the CEO's recommendation.
Anna Olivia?
So Monday evening, we had discussion on this topic. We ended up in a fairly split vote. The ultimate recommendation was to support moving forward with the data management and call center contracts, emphasizing that the criterion that was previously brought forth must be met, that all enforceable labor standards and a binding neutrality agreement for call center and data management services, that a call center is established in Alameda County with unionized workforce, that the selected agency has both the technical and professional capabilities necessary to enact the unique vision of EBCE, and that there is both evaluation and prevention of potential worker displacement for existing call center employees. The 3 folks who voted against supporting the proposal, 2 of them weighed in very clearly. One of them was because he wanted to include the language that there were no new concerns brought forth by the community, and that the process as laid out by this board was followed. We just didn't have time for him to add that language. And the other person was very clear that he felt that the process was absolutely not transparent, and that he was hesitant to put his name on it and had recused himself from the process. Everyone was happy that our CEO has been so responsive to the concerns about lack of transparency, has had some very strong efforts towards more community inclusion, and that there will be a proposal for a clear and inclusive RFP review and selection process that is inclusive of the community and the CAC's voice, and we look forward to seeing that again. But ultimately, we did, in a very close vote, choose to support it.
Okay, anybody else up here with any questions, comments? I have 1 speaker so far. I'm sure we'll get more. Jessica Tovar. Anybody else wish to speak, please fill out a speaker's card.
Now it is? Okay, great. East Bay Clean Power Alliance appreciates the JPA board stressing the importance of good local jobs and union neutrality agreements, and appreciates Nick Chassett's skillful negotiations in favor of these issues, past contract talks. We also appreciate the Community Advisory Committee support for these criteria. We agree that SMUD is a vendor that could provide the kind of data management and call center services that we seek. East Bay Clean Power Alliance has 3 criteria we ask that vendors meet: data management capability to handle distributed energy resources, a local call center with local jobs, and union neutrality agreements. Frankly, none of the past nor current candidate vendors met all 3 criteria, but we recognize the urgent need to move forward and trust that contract talks will move vendors toward meeting these criteria and that future selection processes reflect these 3 criteria. And just to reiterate once again that the transparency is the basic, most important thing, and we want to see all other similar bids like this to be fully transparent and all the information given to the community in a timely manner. And we appreciate your leadership. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this matter? Let me guess. Hunter Stern?
Yes. Who wants? You do. There you go. Okay, thank you. Good evening, Hunter Stern, IBW Local 1245. So we are the impacted union. Our members do this work for PG&E, at least the call center side, currently. And in fact, these impacts are more immediate than maybe you know. PG&E announced to us, and we are negotiating, and we think it's going to work out in the end, but there's a small call center PG&E operates in Stockton, 60 plus people. They will close that call center. The net result, most of the members, 30, close to 40, will end up in Sacramento still answering phones. But the net result will be 20 fewer people, 20 fewer IBW 1245 members answering phone calls for PG&E. Obviously, this has nothing to do with your launch, but it does have something to do with the fewer customers that they have today, and they will have fewer customers in the future. Fortunately, this body and the folks who participated in the steering committee included language in the JPA to address these issues. That language was referenced indirectly by the advisory committee chair's report, and this is important to us because we will lose members. Exactly how many and exactly when, I can't tell you. But it's important to know that if in fact, and I understand and appreciate the attempt or the plan to start a call center here, I hope that's the case, and obviously we'll support that. But Calpine Energy Solutions is the entity that we have a relationship with. They are answering phone calls today. Frankly, we would already be talking to those workers at Energy Choice California, except the fires disrupted our schedule. We will talk to those workers. We expect, as well as any union can expect, to organize and represent those workers. They're answering CCA calls now. We expect they'll continue to do so. It's my great hope and expectation that we'll do the same for the workers here. But in any case, we want to make sure that your board, and this entity are going to deliver on the promises it made. We were very active, obviously, with a number of you in the steering committee, and we really want to deliver these jobs locally to the community. And we're not sure unless there's a little more information in the bid process to explain where the revenue is going to come from to ensure that the goals of starting a phase 1, phase 2 call center in the jurisdiction will come true. So thank you for your attention, and we ask you not to accept the recommendation of the staff, and in fact, to select the Calpine Solutions bid. Thank you.
Thank you. Al Weinrab?
I'll pass. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak on this? Okay, with that, I'll bring it back to the board for deliberation and action. Please note for the record that Jesse Aragon from Berkeley has arrived. Okay. Anybody?
I'll move the staff recommendation.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second by Biddle. Is there any discussion?
I think we should have a little discussion.
Well, I'm trying, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing everything I can. Go ahead, Director Bell.
Thank you. I think at the risk of repeating whatever I may have said a couple weeks ago, we had essentially 3 companies under consideration. They all are capable at some level of doing the job. I think that's pretty clear, or they won't even be getting any consideration. But I think what we've talked about in terms of the criteria that we want to have ultimately, in terms of the long term, may not start at that right away, but long term, local jobs for a good part of this, and the other commitments we've made, I think this option will get us there, and they have a good reputation, and they are currently represented by a union, these workers, and as long as I see in the proposal, I see there is discussion and a time frame about transitioning to getting a local operation in-house here, and that's very important to me, and so I'm comfortable with the staff recommendation, and I appreciate the 3 people who have reviewed this in addition to our CEO, and I'll be voting for it.
Director Martinez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank our CEO for, first of all, letting the process play out in a way that the public can understand with the same criterion that we use to evaluate the other companies. And I also wanted to appreciate the fact that you really heard what we were saying about, well, I know what I was saying about local jobs and the phased-in process of getting not only the escalated calls into Alameda County, but really full service into Alameda County. So I would say to anyone in the audience and anyone listening that I think this board is committed to getting all of those jobs here into Alameda County and making sure that that our workforce is able to unionize and that they're good jobs, they're quality jobs that that we're providing to folks right here. So I would be in support of this recommendation.
Thank you. I too, in support of recommendation, I want to support some of my colleagues up here on the board. I think it's important that once again we start moving towards the transition to get these jobs here, but we work with anyone who we need to locally to make sure that there's transparency and to make sure that they're involved in the process. I think that's the key. If we're going to move these jobs here, we want to make sure that we've got anybody and everybody who wants to be a part of that locally, that they have a say. And at the same time, just really, it's really important to me that we make good on our promise with this. And if we say we're going to do it, I want a reassurance that we're going to do it, and not a, well, you know, things have been going okay. We think things are really going well now. We don't want to, you know, mess anything up. We don't want to mess the transition up. No, we want to make good on our promise.
Director Biddle?
Yeah, well, and comment on that, it has been a long process and a lot of work has been spent on this. We've been dealing with this since last spring, and it became apparent to me anyway that the initial 2 bids didn't measure up to all that we wanted. And I think it was appropriate to go back out and find somebody that we were satisfied with. And as I mentioned last meeting, I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to establish a good working relationship with SMUD, who in the future will, I think, could be beneficial to us. So again, I support the motion.
So for me, I think, you know, we are a new agency, and clearly we are learning, and some of us have been around a while, and I think we agree with the CAC that this process was probably not one of the better ones that we've seen, And I think if it's done anything, it's left us room for improvement. But I think the end result is, this is probably one of the most important decisions that we will have to make. Because if we get out there and we send out bills that aren't correct, I guarantee you people will leave us immediately. People don't tolerate utility bills that aren't correct. It's a very quick way of losing the people's trust. And I just think that in the long run, we're kind of where we need to be. I think that it's important for us as policymakers that we do, as we move forward though, hold up our commitments to the community, that we want this call center in Alameda County as soon as possible. We have promised that there would be card check neutrality at that building when it's opened, and we allow an open and fair process if they want to join the union. And these are things that, as the chairman of this organization for now anyways, that I want to make sure that we hold true. And Nick, I look at you to make sure that that happens. And I look at all of us as board members to make sure that that happens too. But it's not the direction that I think we wanted to go. I think it's the direction we need to go right now. But I would say that getting the call center here as soon as possible is what will fix this situation. Yep. And that's our goal. That's keeping our eye on the prize, and I think that's where we need to go. And once we get there, holding up our end of the commitments to the citizens and those that have been so involved in the process from the very beginning. That's what we need to do. So, with that, did anybody else want to say anything? Jesse, you want to say something?
So I completely agree with what the chair said. I really appreciate the fact that we were able to postpone this item to this meeting and have the interview panel meet. And their findings, their strong support for the SMUD contract really reinforces to me the importance of moving in this direction, to have an independent review of the proposal. And the fact that it scored so much higher over the other proposals, I think, says a lot about why this particular contract is the right approach for this agency. But I agree that moving the call center services in-house as soon as possible is really important to honor our commitment to the many community partners that have helped make this happen. This really was not only due to the leadership of the chair, but also the work of the community to really make this authority happen. And one of the key principles was local job creation. So to the extent we can move that in-house as quickly as possible with card check neutrality, I think is extremely important. I want to thank the CEO for your commitment to including that in the contract, negotiating that with SMUD, and I'll be supporting the recommendation.
And Olivia, and then Bonacorsi.
Go ahead.
Okay. I do want to acknowledge what Hunter Stern just brought up about, that's the first time I've heard about the Stockton call center closing. And just to go to one of the points that is in the Community Advisory Committee recommendations is that we, as we move this call center in-house, making sure that we are looking at the call center employees who are losing their jobs to see if those already trained people cannot be displaced by this process. Energy democracy is about empowering our community, not displacing them. And even though the transition away from fossil fuels has to be inevitable for our own survival, the survival of those workers is not guaranteed. And if we are proactive in that, then we will already be doing better than a lot of the CCAs out there. So just to remember that the people that Hunter is here speaking about are our neighbors and our constituents and our family and friends, and making sure that those people are looked at with the same priority that Chair Haggerty asked to be taken into consideration last time, that is a priority that this body and our CEO also recognizes.
Director Bonacorsi.
Chair, this is more in the nature of a question. I hear pretty much a consensus that card check neutrality is important and local job creation is important, a 2-year phase is important, and maybe this is for the CEO to answer, but how are we just making a commitment that in good faith we're going to try to negotiate with SMUD to enter into these arrangements, or is there a commitment that that's a condition upon which we're making the proposal? So I'm not clear on that.
So it's a condition of the proposal. We're signing a 2-year contract, clearly with sort of the clear intent that in 2 years the contract it will no longer be valid, and we will have made, at that point we will make the transition. That is the maximum period. So if we move more quickly, that will be something, that's a specific contract term that we'll have to negotiate. It's hard to sort of foresee, will we have the call center set up in 17 months, 19 months? We know that, based on the contract we're going to execute, it will be within 24 months. But it's not going to be, we're not going to negotiate a term, well, we may not get there. That is a requirement of our contract. Does that answer your question?
I'm sorry. Maybe my question was poorly phrased. I was saying that there seems to be, I was hearing Mayor Aragon from Berkeley saying that card check neutrality is important. He supports the chair. Local job creation is important. Going in-house is 2 years.
Move towards our call center, David.
What's that?
This is a 2-year contract, but as we move towards establishing our contract within our control, our community. Okay.
That clarifies it. I wasn't clear from the CEO's response. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so with that, if there's no other questions, any other comments? Is there any objection to the motion? Okay, the motion passes without objection. Okay. With that, are there any board members, staff, or board member or staff announcements? All right, well, then we're adjourned. Yeah, go watch I'll see you later.
Yes. All right. Yes.